Today, we're diving into the extraordinary life of the iconic musician, Sir Elton John. His journey isn't just about glittering success, hit songs, deep struggles, and scandals. From battling addiction and mental health issues to navigating his sexuality publicly, Elton John's story is one of resilience, talent, and transformation. Stay tuned as we explore his life, career, relationships, achievements, and notable challenges. Early life. Reginald Kenneth Dwight, better known as Elton John, was born in Pinner, England on March 25, 1947. At an early age, Elton John grew fond of music at 4 and started playing piano alone. He was such a genius that he got a scholarship at the Royal Academy of Music in London. Though he started well in his acting career, his family life could have been better. In his early life, his father, Stanley Dwight, did not endorse his intent to perform and role. Such a conflict increased when his parents could not stay together during adolescence. Despite the threats made by his school, at 17 years old, he dropped out and joined the pop music group Bluesology. His adopted stage name was the concoction of his fellow band members' names. Since childhood, he rarely saw his father, which he attributed to poor self-esteem and other qualities regarded as bad. It should be noted that he longed for his father's affection on all counts, but the young man never got it. Although he later understood that his father might have loved him in his way, the young Elton used his frustration as fuel to drive his success. Relationship with his mother. Elton had a very different experience with his mother, Sheila Fairbrother. They also had strained relations and were enemies for years before the movie. Years later, when Fairbrother reached the age of 90, the man had rented the services of an Elton John impersonation in his place when he failed to attend a birthday celebration. Nevertheless, they remained married before her death, though their conflict continued. Fairbrother left a significant portion of her estate to her son's former assistant, who had been a source of their conflict, while leaving Elton only a few vases and old family photos. Despite not needing the money, this act was a testament to their complicated relationship. Elton John is a gifted singer with incredible drive and passion who became successful as soon as he entered the music industry. However, he has been through a lot to become an icon known worldwide. Some of his problems have been individual ones, some have been those in his line of actual doing, and others are far beyond him, yet they target him. Rather, they target the public figure that is perceived in society. Elton John, the man who was once Reginald Dwight, has taken it all, and although he is still here, it is clear that the path has not been easy for him. If you thought Elton John's relationship with his mother was surprising, brace yourself, because we're about to reveal his battle with addiction and how it consumed a significant part of his life. Career. John applied for a songwriter position at Liberty Records in 1967 when he saw a classified ad for a songwriter position in Liberty Records. He got the job and began a duo with lyricist Bernie Taupin soon after. The two moved to the DJM label the next year, producing songs for other artists. Only in 1969, with the album Empty Sky, did John initiate as a singer. All the songs are composed of him and Taupin. While unsuccessful, this album produced his first hit, Your Song. This is your song. It may be quite simple, but... More hits quickly followed, including two number ones, Crocodile Rock, Benny and the Jets, and Island Girl. In this period, John produced a series of successful albums, including Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, 1973, and Rock of the Westies, 1975. One of the leading acts of the 1970s, John became equally renowned for his live performances. He wore extravagant, over-the-top costumes and glasses for his elaborate concerts. In an interview, John explained, "I wasn't a sex symbol like Bowie, Mark Bolan, or Freddie Mercury, so I dressed more on the humorous side because if I was going to be stuck at the piano for 2 hours, I was going to make people look at me." In 1976, John topped the charts again with Don't Go Breaking My Heart, a duet with Kiki D. He soon decided to take a break from music to focus on the soccer team he co-owned in England. Around this time, John publicly announced that he was bisexual. He later came out as a gay man. He faced ridicule and taunts for his sexuality at the time. The controversy eventually subsided and he returned triumphantly to music in 1979 with the album A Single Man. While he did not produce many smash hits in the 1980s, John still fared well on the charts. Some of the most memorable songs from this period include the ballads Little Genie and Empty Garden, Hey, Hey Johnny. The latter written as a tribute to his friend John Lennon of the Beatles, who had been killed in 1980. Addiction. Elton John wasted a huge part of his life on drugs and alcohol. Sir Elton John might be sober these days, but it hasn't always been that way. According to The Telegraph, he feels that drugs initially helped with his shyness as a budding artist, but he quickly grew too fond of them. Addictive substances, particularly cocaine, consumed a significant part of his prime years. His vanity prevented him from addressing his issues even as his behavior drove friends and family away. The Queensland Times describes the unhealthy extremes of his addiction. He would consume drugs, down a bottle of Johnny Walker, stay up for 3 days without eating, then sleep for a day and a half, wake up to binge, and start the cycle all over again. A major part of his problem was his denial. He didn't see himself as an addict because he associated addiction with people who used needles, something he never did. He now acknowledges that his behavior was monstrous. Fortunately, he managed to turn his life around in 1990 and has remained sober ever since. Overdoses and seizures were a significant part of his struggle. As NPR reminds us, Sir Elton John has been sober since 1990, but he still has vivid nightmares that he just took cocaine, and it's still in his nose. It's easy to see why these traumas linger, considering how close the drug came to killing him. According to the Queensland Times, the singer experienced a drug overdose back in 1975, a full 15 years before he finally quit drugs. Reflecting on this period, the Rocket Man describes it as tragic and bleak. John's drug use led to severe health scares. He recalls his worst incidents, where he would have epileptic seizures and turn blue. Fortunately, he was never alone during these episodes. People would find him on the floor, help him into bed, and let him sleep it off. Yet sometimes, less than an hour later, he'd be up again, reaching for another hit. This vicious cycle underscored just how deep his addiction was, making his eventual sobriety all the more remarkable. If you thought Elton John's addiction was surprising, brace yourself, because we're about to reveal John's revelation that he was finally comfortable with his homosexuality. Could this acceptance have influenced his public persona? Let's find out. Marriage and personal life. Elton John has been married twice. In 1984, he dabbled with heterosexuality and married Renate Blau after a flash romance. His first wife, Renate Blau, is a German recording engineer. This may or may not have been an attempt to keep up appearances. They divorced in 1988. Elton John and Renate Blau divorced primarily because Elton realized that he was gay. Despite their affection, they ultimately decided to part ways amicably in 1988. Elton later described the marriage as an attempt to conform to societal expectations and avoid confronting his true identity. He has expressed deep regret for any pain caused to Blau, and the divorce was a crucial step in his journey towards self-acceptance and living openly as a gay man. John stated that he was finally comfortable with his homosexuality. He later entered into a civil partnership with David Furnish in 2005, and they married in 2014 after same-sex marriage was legalized in England. Sir Elton John and his husband, David Furnish, have been together for 25 years.
Romance was instant but slow. He's my soulmate. He's the person that I speak to first thing in the morning and last thing at night.
And according to Harper's Bazaar, they still trade weekly love letters. However, sources close to the singer whisper that their relationship also has less cutesy aspects. In 2015, News Corp Australia reported that Furnish had essentially taken control of John's life, which caused some serious problems due to his inexperience in the fine art of superstar management. Many of John's trusty longtime staff have either resigned or been fired because of the situation, further confusing matters. Furnish is thought to be responsible for many of the embarrassing PR gaffes John has suffered in recent years, and there are even rumors that he's the reason Capitol Records, John's longtime label, decided to drop the artist. Their relationship has faced public scrutiny and personal challenges. In 2016, further reports about Furnish surfaced as tabloids started running stories about an alleged longtime affair with businessman Daniel Lawrence. According to Global News, the stories described unprotected affairs and even a threesome in a kiddie pool filled with olive oil. However, this might not technically mean Furnish was cheating on his famous husband. John has stated that they are in an open marriage and went so far as to protect his husband by securing a controversial court-ordered injunction that stops the notoriously scandal-happy British tabloids from even mentioning their names. Despite these challenges, their relationship has endured, marked by deep love and mutual support. His diva moments. Elton and David have two sons, Zachary, born in 2010, and Elijah, born in 2013, both through surrogacy. Their family life is filled with love and dedication, with both fathers actively involved in their children's lives. Elton often shares that his sons have brought immense joy and stability to his life, helping him stay grounded amidst his busy career. His coming out was chaotic. Although it's hard to imagine Sir Elton John as anything other than an out and proud gay man, his coming out was anything but straightforward. In 1976, Rolling Stone freelancer Cliff Jar was determined to get an interview with John, who had avoided the media during a pre-hiatus run of shows. Jar had a hunch about John's sexuality and engaged him in an intimate conversation to see where it might lead. This led to John openly discussing bisexuality and his attraction to men. The revelation caused quite a stir. While the impact on his record sales might not have been as dramatic as the press suggested, the news of a celebrity's same-sex attraction was shocking at the time. Even Walter Cronkite reported it on the evening news. Despite this public outing, the Rocket Man was still figuring out his identity and how he wanted to be perceived by the world. His insufferable diva moments. Sir Elton John might be a legend in the music industry, but he's equally famous for his diva-like tantrums. Fans may be invited to dance on stage with him, but if they get too close, he's been known to scream at them or storm off in anger, as happened during a show in Vegas.
I know you're doing your job and you're trying to do your best, but can you sit the fuck down, please?
According to The Telegraph, he stopped inviting people on stage after that incident, but John's diva antics aren't limited to fans. If you're a celebrity he doesn't like, he'll let you know. Over the years, he's called Madonna a fairground stripper and a lip syncer, among other things. Their feud only cooled in 2013 when they unexpectedly met at a restaurant, and John took the opportunity to apologize and buy her dinner. And Madonna isn't even the most powerful entity John has taken on. The Guardian recounts a story from his hazier days when a storm woke him up, and he called his staff demanding they do something about the weather. Death threats and bomb plots.
You serious?
Despite his music not being particularly controversial, Sir Elton John has faced serious threats due to his status as a successful, straight-talking, flamboyant, and openly gay man. This has made him a target for individuals who can't accept his existence. In 2010, Rolling Stone reported that a 65-year-old man named Neil Horsley openly called for John's death on YouTube and was subsequently arrested. Horsley's threats were motivated by an interview in which John speculated that Jesus Christ was a compassionate, super intelligent gay man who understood human problems. Online threats are one thing, but in 2016, things took a more dangerous turn. A 19-year-old man named Haroon Ali Syed plotted to bomb John's concert. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, Syed planned to detonate a nail bomb at the singer's concert in London's Hyde Park. Fortunately, Scotland Yard and MI5 intercepted the plot and apprehended Syed before he could execute his terrorist act. His struggle with bulimia. According to The Telegraph, in 1990, Sir Elton John and his partner were in the early stages of therapy to get sober. They were asked to list each other's worst faults as part of the process. John's partner wrote, "Elton does drugs, he has alcoholism, he has bulimia, he has terrible fits of rage." In response, John humorously noted, "Hugh never puts his CDs away tidily." Despite his playful comment about CDs, the mention of John's bulimia was significant. Eating disorder. Hope reports that the singer struggled with bulimia for 16 years, downplaying its seriousness and believing he could handle it alone. He only overcame bulimia when he acknowledged it as a serious condition and sought treatment, coinciding with his efforts to kick his cocaine addiction. John's battle with the eating disorder was ultimately successful, but it remained a sensitive topic. In 1992, a tabloid falsely claimed that John had relapsed, prompting him to sue until they admitted the story was a lie. When you're a famous English singer and a member of a sexual minority, there's a good chance that you meet other people who fit in that particular Venn diagram. One of Sir Elton John's good friends from that particular demographic was the late great George Michael. However, The Telegraph reports that their friendship was not always happy. Another thing John and Michael had in common was a propensity for heavy drug use, and since the older musician was already sober by the time the two recorded the hit duet version of Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me in 1991, he tried to help the younger man steer clear of drugs. Unfortunately, he soon discovered it was difficult to help those who didn't want to help themselves, as Michael wanted little to do with his advice. According to NME, the pair's roughest patch came in the 2000s when the ever-sharp-tongued John criticized Michael's new album and said the younger musician seemed to be in a strange place. George Michael took offense, issued a statement downplaying their friendship, and said John had little knowledge of his private life apart from what he heard through the gay grapevine. The dismissal broke John's heart, but he still considered Michael a beloved friend. After the Faith singer's untimely death in 2016, John praised his friend as unbelievably talented, kind, and generous. Elton John and Princess Diana got acquainted in 1981 when they both attended Prince Andrew's birthday party. Establishing communication, they found out that they both were interested in the issue of AIDS. Despite this, the friendship remained strong, though it proved a little tumultuous when Diana decided not to endorse Gianni Versace's charity book, Rock and Royalty, when informed by the royals to do so. This was very severe as Elton was left frustrated and the relationship between the two was badly affected. But they tested the waters in tragedy. They were brought back together in the end. After Versace's murder, Diana contacted Elton and said sorry to him, and they reconciled. They both were spotted at Versace's funeral and hugged and kissed each other, signaling the return of their extremely juicy and tight friendship. In 1997, Diana died a very bad death. Elton then dedicated Candle in the Wind for her funeral, and this song's revenue is for her favorite charities.
Your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills.
What are your thoughts on Elton John's struggle with bulimia? Let us know in the comments. Wealth. Elton John was estimated to be worth $265 million, which ranked him 322 richest persons in Britain in April 2009. A few years later, by the end of 2019, the approximate amount of his wealth had gone up to $417 million, placing him among the top 10 richest characters in the British music market. John currently has several houses, a primary residence being Woodside in Old Windsor, Berkshire, Atlanta, London, Los Angeles, Nice, and Venice. The Nice property is located in Montboron. Physically young, John is thought to have amassed one of the world's largest private photography galleries. John later revealed that less than $39 million had been spent within 2 years, an average of $1.9 million per month. From January 1996 to September 1997, he was estimated to have spent more than $12.7 million on real estate and $293,000 on flowers. He sold 20 cars at Christie's in June 2001, claiming he hardly used them because of extensive traveling. The auction was of a 1993 Jaguar XJ 220 car that fetched $306,050, and a few more Ferraris, Rolls-Royces, and Bentleys, helping it pull almost $2,607,460. The following year, in 2003, he auctioned off all the furniture in his Holland Park home at Sotheby's because he intended to clean up the house and bring its style up to date to display his mostly contemporary art. Since 2004, John has opened a shop named Elton's Closet every year to sell used clothes. John was listed in the Pandora Papers in October 2021 as a politician or celebrity who failed to pay taxes through tax havens. By 1975, the pressure accompanying stardom had already started casting a toll on John. In Elton Week in Los Angeles that same year, he collapsed from a cocaine overdose and subsequently developed a bulimia problem. In a 2002 interview with Larry King, John confirmed he knew about Princess Diana's eating disorder, mentioning that they both struggled with bulimia. In July 2019, John shared on Instagram that he had been sober for 29 years. In a 2022 concert in Indianapolis, John attributed his recovery to spending time with Ryan White's family, which enlightened him that his way of life was unadaptable. He said he was highly grateful as he thought they were the forces that saved his life. Again, in an interview in 2014, John also noted music royalty Kate Bush and Peter Gabriel's song Don't Give Up as some of the lyrics. Particularly from Kate Bush, encouraged him, especially during the toughest times, to play a crucial role in his rehabilitation program. John is a big tennis fan, so in 1975 he dedicated the song Philadelphia Freedom to Billie Jean King and her world team tennis team, the Philadelphia Freedoms, where King was both a player and a coach. John and King are still good friends, and they hold a professional amateur tennis event yearly for AIDS organizations, especially the Elton John AIDS Foundation, of which King is a chairman. His troubles with religious groups. Unsurprisingly, religious groups have often condemned Sir Elton John, given his sexuality and his penchant for provocation. He is not hesitant to criticize religious believers in return. According to NME, John's main contention with most religions is their stance on homosexuality. He argues that they promote hatred and spite against gay people and view organized religion as a dysfunctional institution that fosters hatefulness. Although he acknowledges some positive aspects of religion, he has controversially suggested that it should be banned altogether. Such bold statements naturally attract attention. As The Guardian notes, one of John's most famous remarks about religion occurred in 2010 when he said Jesus was a gay man, provoking a range of reactions from religious authorities. Some responded harshly, while others, like a Church of England spokesman, suggested such speculations might be best left to academics. Christianity is not the only religion that has had issues with John. As described by The Telegraph and The Guardian, his concerts have faced significant protests in predominantly Muslim countries like Morocco and Malaysia, further highlighting the global religious opposition he encounters. One of the most terrifying events for a singer is losing their voice, which happened to Sir Elton John. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, Rocketman's grueling touring schedule in the mid-1980s, which included 15 months of 200 concerts, severely strained his voice, leading to its loss and causing spasmodic throat pain. In early 1987, he checked into a private Australian hospital, cancelled his concert dates for the year, and underwent throat surgery to address what some speculated was throat cancer. However, his publicists maintained it was a benign lesion. John recovered quickly and resumed touring, but the voice he returned with significantly differed from the one he had before surgery.
You can beat the clock, but before I knew.
His new voice had a much deeper timbre and lacked the famous falsetto, disappointing many fans with the change. Sir Elton John is among the most successful music artists, having sold more than 300 million records to his credit. He has been producing music for over 5 decades and has made many albums and such evergreen songs as Rocketman, Your Song, and Tiny Dancer. Elton John has 5 Grammy Awards, an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, a Tony Award, and a Disney Legends Award to his credit. Since their early years, he has been recording. In 1994, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Today, Queen Elizabeth II honored him with a knighthood in 1998, which reaffirmed his post as a music icon. To this date, Elton John continues to perform, record, and work with other artists in the field of music, as well as in different fields. Among them, his activity within the Elton John AIDS Foundation, set up in 1992, is worth mentioning. It is among the foremost non-profits in the AIDS fight, wherein it has collectively garnered $450 plus millions and has invested in AIDS projects in over 55 countries. Besides the fight against HIV/AIDS, Elton John is involved in other charitable projects such as education, health, and human rights. He is said to be a very benevolent person to affect people's lives positively. Political views. 2006, Elton John expressed his political views. If I were to define my political affiliation, I would be Labour. I have a lot of respect for Tony Blair. He's a good man. Though I've never met him, I have had the opportunity to meet him. I first met with Blair at the Brit Awards in 1998, where he awarded me the Freddie Mercury Award for support towards the Elton John AIDS Foundation. The sort of relationship John had with Blair, even though he never lost his regard for Blair as a person, developed into a disappointment towards Blair as a leader. By 2006, he intended to withdraw his support from the Labour Party, citing concerns that prolonged power leads to losing touch with reality, describing it as a goldfish bowl mentality. Despite being a friend of Blair's successor, Gordon Brown, and being recognised as a strong Labour supporter by the Daily Telegraph, John was described as a floating voter in 2009. John publicly endorsed the UK to stay in the EU in 2016, sharing a picture on Instagram, "Build bridges, not walls." He was disappointed in how Brexit was handled in 2019 and in 2021 called out Boris Johnson for not agreeing to meet with him to talk about Brexit and touring visas for musicians. In a live interview in 2023, while addressing a group of politicians, John said that the next British general election winner could contribute to eliminating AIDS by the end of the decade. He returned to endorsing the Labour Party publicly during the 2024 general election, supporting Keir Starmer's bid for Prime Minister. Regarding US politics, John heavily criticized President George W. Bush, calling him the worst thing that ever happened to America, and was staunchly against the Iraq War. However, he later on applauded Bush for his hard work in fighting AIDS. John was particularly wrenched by the success of Barack Obama in the 2008 presidential election, and he had business with President Obama in the White House in 2015. He campaigned for Hillary Clinton during her 2016 presidential campaign by supporting her fundraiser concert and endorsing her as the best candidate for America. John was among numerous musicians who did not approve of Donald Trump's use of his songs in political campaigns, and he rejected an invitation to Trump's ceremony because he was British. However, Trump and John have been interconnected, as the former has mentioned in his speeches that he received a signed CD of Rocket Man, a nickname for Kim Jong-un, from the North Korean leader. In 2022, Joe Biden awarded John with the National Humanities Medal after the White House performance, stating that John profoundly changed people using music. John attended the official opening of the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center in New York during Biden's presidential campaign in 2024, a critical point regarding the rights of sexual minorities in the United States. Influences. John recalled his early fascination with rock and roll, which started in 1956 when his mother brought home records by Elvis Presley and Bill Haley and his Comets. He reflected on his childhood. I heard Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, and that was it. I never wanted to be anything else. I lean more towards Little Richard's style than Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee is a very intricate and skilled piano player, but Little Richard is more forceful. Throughout his career, John has acknowledged influences such as Ray Charles, the Beatles, the band, Leon Russell, Aretha Franklin, Joni Mitchell, and Freddie Mercury. He has also admired contemporary artists from the 21st century, collaborating with many on the 2021 album The Lockdown Sessions and featuring them on his Apple Music radio show Rocket Hour. In an interview, he expressed his enthusiasm. It's amazing because you think, wow, they're 16, 17, or 15 years old. How do they do that? It keeps me energized and incredibly happy. These are the artists who keep me youthful. While I appreciate all the classical music, the new music continues to inspire me. Elton John's life story is an epic of hard work, inspiration, and search for true self. From a boy whose love for music was taken in Middlesex to a great artist, he has faced many successes and challenges. The current situation proves that Elton John is a great musician and a humanitarian, and his music continues to inspire people today.